Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again with the follow-up update video on the endgame for Stormrain already. Spent most of yesterday's stream getting a level or two and then going through a lot of the bosses, most of which were Uber versions, and also trying to get off some extra challenge in the form of sentineling some dumb shit. So this is like a Val Temple T16 with Sentinel on it, and just in case for some reason you still don't know or aren't too aware, sentineling some mobs makes them insanely harder. So if you are coming across some serious challenge and you're not entirely sure why, chances are you fucking sentineled it, and then it makes it like 5 to 10 times tougher. These bosses weren't too bad though, however. And then in general, just, you know, things like Metamorph are going to be really tough to do if you put a Sentinel on them. But the DPS on this build is more than good enough, and I was comfortably taking on like all of this sort of end game, including the Sentinel bullshit and plenty of other stuff. So as I mentioned in the previous video, basically Stormrain in this build is just mostly good against things that really stand still and you can overlap a lot of beams onto. You can have up to a maximum of 50 beams across a target, and that's not going to happen too often because it does depend fairly largely on the monster's hitbox and also on how stationary they are. Some bosses out there absolutely going to be very stationary, and you will get like 10, 20, 30 beams, who the fuck knows, but the build feels like about 40 million DPS maybe, and 10 beams is apparently 25 million DPS, so maybe something like that, not quite sure. But as far as the mapping gameplay, as you can see here and in previous clips, it's still not the greatest. Like having to wait for that payload to go off of your Stormrain shooting something in the air, and then it landing, and then that brief pause before it starts zapping. It is pretty dangerous in today's world, and honestly wouldn't really recommend it. Like, it took me to 92 so far before I wanted to start on my end gaming and all that. But the more dangerous the map, the much quicker and easier you would die if you didn't kill something immediately. So the best version of the build is probably similar to how I played my last Scourge Arrow Stormrain build, and that is basically having Scourge Arrow as clear or some other skill as clear, and then Stormrain as a single target. Even in this build, you can just replace the Ballista Totems, honestly, with a clear skill if you really want. I'm not sure the Ballista Totems are that necessary in the build, but they do add some DPS occasionally against some bosses. That said, I did do all my clear with Stormrain, and I was okay with it, like to the point where I definitely wasn't so uncomfortable that I had to change or some shit. But just letting you know ahead of time that it's not going to be the most front-loaded skill like many others that can just run in and blast a room immediately, and thus you can get away with absolute paper thinness. We are fairly paper thin, like, I don't know, I've just got 50, 60 evasion or something and spell suppress and a bunch of life gain on hit, but you absolutely get found out against certain packs, certain maps that have bullshit. And also, once you start clicking those altars, which I definitely was with the Wrath of the Cosmos node, most of the time taking like 50 to 100 increased damage, and that definitely means that you can't really get away with taking any hits in a world where you are setting yourself up to take some hits because it's a delayed skill. So that's all said and done, you know, up to you if you want to follow the Stormrain way or try out some other skills. It's absolutely fine to try out some other skills. I wanted to make Stormrain all the way through for this build, and I'm happy with the results. The single target though, now that was another story altogether, and boy was it good. There aren't too many bosses that fully let you stand still and just go ham, so all of these clips are going to be against Ubers and stuff, but when you do get the opportunity after dodging a few things to maybe place some totems and start overlapping your Stormrains, the DPS goes pretty mental, and like I said, there's not too many bosses that really do that, but I did take on all the content thus far that I tried. So that is an Uber Shaper here. As you can see, once again, spell suppress, pretty good. Did an Uber Shaper, feared all at once with high quantity. Uber Exarch, Uber Cortex with Maven influence on it. Uber Sirus, Uber Maven, I think I may have said that already. Don't know. Anyway, the Exarch here is Still strictly bullshit. So I had to go from the perspective of trying to basically DPS race him with portals, right? Because there was no way I was actually going to take any damage on this fight with the setup I had. So I had to strictly just try and get in there, do some DPS, lose a portal, do some DPS, etc. Like this sort of phase is really tough to get through without getting hit a single fucking time, as well as having to deal with the Minotaur. And then during the actual Exarch himself, it's really tough to get away from Annihilation when you're just like basically a run speed based build and you're not even that fast. And on top of that, what is it on top of that? My dash is just flame dash, so it's a little bit slow. It's not really feeling too good. So Annihilation can get you caught out, and otherwise he dashes around a lot if you're at range. So you don't really get to set up too well against his bullshitness with your Storm Rain. So sometimes you do once he's casting a couple of the weaker attacks, but a lot of the time he isn't getting your maximum output, and that's kind of annoying. So I did end up doing him. It's the first character I've done Uber Exarch on this league, so that is something for sure, and I think I could maybe do it like half the time. I'd definitely be bricking some sets, but honestly it's just not a fight worth doing again unless I happen to have a character that I think, holy shit, even bigger DPS, I'm going to try that. So then you can see the actual proper standstill ramp DPS against something like an Uber Siri. This is a fight, and some fights out there you are going to get time to set up against them, so you can place your totems and get a whole bunch of DPS in, and then it's insane. This is an Uber, not an Uber, just a Feared All at Once and a bunch of mods on it, and as you can see I died because that was Fizz Reflect on the map. I thought I could probably get away with Fizz Reflect, turns out I can't, even though I've got like 10 to 30 Fizz damage on my, sorry, 10 to 130 Fizz damage on my tooltip. That still ends up killing me with the double Fizz Reflect mod, and I had to then go, after that death, just in town to respec a little bit so I can convert the rest of my Fizz damage. So it took like 4 or 5 points of respec, then I went back in and killed the Feared all at once, not too shabbily. I do think it would have been easy to do a Deathless one, so Feared, just regular content, you got more than enough DPS to blow this shit up instantly. And then here we have Uber Maven. Did do a few Uber Mavens, like we are fairly well set up for this fight because you can do a lot of pre-firing. She does some attacks that you can just kind of stand back and dodge, and then she's a lot of the time just standing still. And as you can see, even with the damage reduction on the Uber variant, once something's standing still and you get some good ramp going onto it, it does, yeah, I don't know, 50 million, 70 million, something like that, some big amount of DPS. That feels pretty good. So with that said, I'll probably do a bit more endgame, but not sure what else to say. Yeah, the character's probably going to be better with Secrets of Suffering, and the current jewel I've got is going to be more expensive, so, you know, careful about that one. If you're going to try and copy the build, you probably can't copy it 1-for-1 on the same budget I did, but Storm Rain, just want you to get thinking about it, because it is a pretty good single target skill. So you might want to incorporate it into some bow builds, but you know, do whatever you want. So here's Uber Sirus, and it was a Deathless one. So doubt I'm going to do too many of these, but wanted to test the character, and it went well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys next time. Been a real cunt today, are we? Like, that was a horrible opening.
I agree with Methel.
I mean, I can't do that again with these flasks at this point. If a phase goes roughly like that again, I just lose. Legend Poet, thanks for the 4 months.
Okay, last phase and that's it. Jesus Christ, dude. Log out of death? No, I guess.
I think I have your email address wrong. Like PayPal's saying it doesn't. Sorry, never mind.
Okay.
McPlayer bought Sirus's Vault Pass from nexus.gg/Mathil1.
Well, there you go. Just complain more.